Welcome into the 49ers Report on Callin. I am your host, Chase Sr. We are broadcasting live again on the Callin app, where we've been going live once a week for an interactive podcast where we chop it up, we talk all things 49ers, and I have an opportunity to take all of your calls, and you can hop onto the show and spit your hottest 49ers hot takes. On the show today, and keep in mind, I'll be answering your calls in just a few moments. Pro Football Focus is showing a few 49ers some serious love, ranking some of the players on this team among the best players at their respective positions in the National Football League and some of the best players all across the board in the NFL. First, though, before we dive into what Pro Football Focus has had to say about some of the premier players on this team, I want to hear from you in the comment section on Callin as well as on YouTube. Who is the best player on the 49ers? Some elite players to choose from. Give me one name in the comment section right now. Also, get into the caller queue. I'll start taking your calls, as I said, in just a few moments. So first up, Pro Football Focus named Fred Warner as the NFL's best linebacker. And among this class, he's in an elite cast of characters that includes Darius Leonard of the Indianapolis Colts, Demario Davis, linebacker for the New Orleans Saints, and Eric Kendricks of the Minnesota Vikings. But Fred Warner, All-Pro Fred, the former third-round pick who got the bag last year from San Francisco, is number one. As for why Pro Football Focus has him as the best linebacker in the game, they said this, quote, "The best linebackers in today's league are elite coverage players, but they can also affect the game in other ways. Warner had a transformative effect on the 49ers defense when he became the starter, and even though he hasn't quite been able to maintain an elite level of play every single season, his impact on the field is obvious." Now, 2 years ago, Fred Warner earned the nickname All-Pro Fred because he was named an All-Pro. And before Darius Leonard got paid, Fred Warner got paid as the highest paid linebacker in the NFL. And last year, after a little bit of a slow start where he admitted that the pressure was on him after signing that big contract, he was phenomenal for this 49ers defense and was the captain for DeMeco Ryans. He was excellent against the run. He was excellent against the pass, and he proved to be so valuable for this 49ers defense, both as a player but also as a leader. That's why he wears the captaincy on his chest. To show some love to All-Pro Fred, I want you to type FW in the comment section. Pro Football Focus also ranked the top 25 players under the age of 25, and coming in at number one, it's not Justin Herbert at the most important position in the NFL and in football in general. It's Nick Bosa beating out Justin Herbert. Pro Football Focus with this: Bosa racked up 47 tackles, 9 sacks, a forced fumble, 2 fumble recoveries, and an interception in 16 games and 14 starts across his rookie year. The sky was the limit going into his sophomore campaign, but unfortunately, he tore his ACL in week 2 and missed the remainder of the year. Then, as we know, in 2021, an awesome year for him. 15.5 sacks with an elite 90 pass rush grade. When on the field, he's been every bit of the player he was hyped up to be coming out of Ohio State. And when you have a player like this on your defense, it helps out everybody else along the defensive line, because Bosa is going to demand and see a lot of double teams coming in off the edge because he is a game breaker. He is a game changer. And because of his presence on the football field, that's why we've seen so many other defensive linemen break out under defensive line coach Chris Kocurek, who I think is the best defensive line coach in the NFL. That's why guys have had career years and then they've gone on, like Arden Key, to get paid by other teams. And that's why free agents like Kamoko Toure and Kerry Hyder have decided to come to the 49ers. And in Hyder's case, return to San Francisco because they know the opportunity is there for them to get back to their form, to prove to others that they can be elite players in this league. They sign these short-term contracts because they understand, okay, I play in this scheme. I'm going to put up some big numbers so that I can get paid later. And this scheme opens up opportunities for these guys to really pin their ears back, play an aggressive style of football, and get after the quarterback. Before we get to the last player that Pro Football Focus is showing some love to, got another thing for you to do in the comments section and right here on Callin and YouTube, just showing some love to Nick Bosa. If you think he's going to have another big year, I want you to like the video. If you don't think he's going to have a big year, I want you to comment why. As for Trent Williams, get this. highest graded player in the NFL last year. Pro Football Focus said this about the Silverback, which is a legendary nickname, by the way. If the NFL MVP award wasn't handed to the best quarterback and was instead given to the league's best player, then one of the league's most unheralded big men would finally receive his due, getting the MVP. The MVP has never gone to an offensive lineman and probably never will, simply because it's a position group largely ignored by the masses. But if there's a player who can make even the most casual fans appreciate line play, it's San Francisco 49ers left tackle Trent Williams, the unique offensive lineman with a legitimate highlight reel. I'm a football nerd. I like going back and watching a lot of tape. If you go back and watch tape of Trent Williams, you will see him just maul cats and snatch their souls right out of their body because physically they can't match up against him. It is a beauty to watch Trent Williams out in the open field on some of these pull blocks and then just wreck dudes in some of these pass sets. He is legitimately one of one, a future Hall of Famer, and for him to be protecting Trey Lance's blind side is just a great luxury to have for San Francisco. Before we start taking your calls, you look at Trent Williams' grades from Pro Football Focus in 2021. Overall grade of nearly 98. League average, folks, is about 70. Pass blocking grade, 86. That's awesome. Run blocking grade, almost 98 as well, coming in officially at 97.9. And here's where it gets really crazy. Offensive snaps played last year, 936. Pass block snaps played, 508. Run block snaps played, 427. He only had 7 penalties against him. And in all of those snaps played, 1 sack allowed, 6 hits allowed, and only 16 total pressures. Trent Williams is a unique talent. There's a reason why he's the highest paid left tackle in the history of football, because this guy is a dominant force. Last question for the homies. Is Trent Williams the best left tackle in the game? Let me know right now in the comments section, and we'll start taking your calls right now. First up on the show, it's Evan. Going to make you the first caller to kick off the 49ers report. Make sure you unmute yourself and let me know what you got right here on the show, Evan.
Hey, Chase. How are you?
Doing good. How are you, my guy?
I'm good. And I've been thinking about this probably for a couple of days now. But the one 49ers player who I think is totally underrated and is Michael Hasty, because I can see him as a Cordell Patterson 2.0.
It's interesting that you say that, and it's an interesting point that you make. Michael Hasty hasn't been given the ample opportunities to prove exactly what he can do. I will tell you this. I had him making the 53-man roster during the preseason last year, and when he did get snaps at the running back spot a year ago in 2021, I thought he was able to do some really impressive things. Now, a lot of people will remember him for the final play in the NFC Championship game when Jimmy Garoppolo was getting sacked. He tried to throw it to Michael Hasty as a pass-catching running back, and we know what happened. The Rams came up with the interception and the stop. They went on to make it to the Super Bowl and won the championship, and it was a sour ending to the season for San Francisco. But as a rotational running back, Evan, I think Michael Hasty is a pretty solid player. I don't think he offers you the pass-catching ability of Cordell Patterson, nor do I think he's going to get the opportunities to run the football like Patterson did last year with the Atlanta Falcons, when he honestly was like Deebo Samuel light. As a rotational back, though, and as a backup behind Elijah Mitchell, Trey Sermon, Ty Davis-Price, and Jeff Wilson, I do think that he will be a part of this 49ers running back core. You got anything else, Evan?
Yeah. I got one last thing. The 49ers defensive back, I think they could maybe add one more good piece to it, and I've been hoping that throughout the whole offseason they would either get Kevin King or trade for Desmond King.
Okay, yeah, I actually think the 49ers are actually pretty set in the defensive secondary. Once they signed Jason Verrett to that one-year contract, I think they were pretty good with their depth in the secondary. They also addressed cornerback a couple of times in the NFL draft, going Samuel Womack as well as Tariq Castro-Fields. When it comes to this 49ers secondary, I actually think they're going to be better and they're deeper and much more talented across the board going into this year as compared to last year when depth and the overall unit was a concern. Anytime you're trying now Josh Norman, as well as Drake Kirkpatrick. That ain't it. But this year you have a bona fide number one corner in Charvarius Ward. Your number two guy is going to be Emmanuel Mosley, who did not give up a touchdown in coverage last year. He can play outside or the slot. And then outside of that, you have Ambry Thomas, who the last month of the year during his rookie campaign, I thought he made some monumental strides. Diamador Lenore, Jason Verrett. Then you have Samuel Womack, as well as Tariq Field. So I don't think they're going to go out and trade for a player barring any injuries. I don't think they're going to make any signings. I think they're pretty set at that cornerback spot. Next up on the show, we're going to go to David. I'm making you the next caller. Welcome on to the 49ers Report right here on Callin. What do you got, David?
Oh, what's up, man? How you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. Even better that you're listening to the show.
Right. Hell yeah, always. I'm just want to talk about how's Trey Sermon? How he looking right now? Is he going to be the number 2 running back, or is it going to be who's the other guy we just picked up on the 6th round pick from LSU?
Yeah, the 3rd round pick. It was Ty Davis Price.
Yeah, you think he's going to be the second, or Trey Sermon?
So obviously, Trey Sermon has his work cut out for him this year after he really didn't do much last year as a rookie as a 3rd round pick. And because of that, a lot of people are frustrated with his lack of production. Trey Sermon has the ability, in my opinion. He really broke out his final year at Ohio State and in moments was able to flash before transferring to Ohio State with Oklahoma. I was a little bit befuddled that he didn't play at all, basically, as a rookie last year. And instead, it was Elijah Mitchell getting the bulk of the carries as a fellow rookie in that backfield for Kyle Shanahan. I think there's going to be a little bit of a change in this offense going into 2022. And I don't think it's going to be a monumental change by any means. But when you look at Trey Lance as a passer, he's a little bit immature, he's a little bit green, he's a little bit raw. The potential is certainly there. But I think Kyle Shanahan is going to have a very keen focus on running the football even more. And the offense is going to be this downhill, really physical running attack to take some pressure off of Trey Lance as a passer, and in turn, give him some open opportunities and some easy looks to complete some balls off of play action and in general in this offense. And because of that, I think you're going to see a steady rotation at that running back spot. And I think it's going to consist of Elijah Mitchell being the number 1 guy. But then throughout training camp, there's going to be a tremendous running back competition. In fact, it might be the best training camp competition on this roster between Trey Sermon, Ty Davis Price, Jeff Wilson, and JaMychal Hasty. You have multiple guys there who are all going to be vying for that second string running back spot. I think Trey Sermon can play. I think it comes down to the coaching staff having trust in him. John Lynch had said something right after the year about Trey having trouble kind of translating from Ohio State to the NFL game. He is that physical runner that they look for. Anytime Bobby Turner gets to coach up a running back and identify a running back, oftentimes that player ends up being very good. Bobby Turner not going to be around this year, but the talent is certainly there for Trey Sermon. And I've seen him throughout some of these offseason workouts look really, really good, hit the cuts hard. I think the ability is there. He just has to show the coaching staff that he can actually do it. Next up on the show, one of our loyal subscribers and listeners every week, it's Draco. What's good, Draco? Make sure you unmute yourself and you can join the show. If you're not ready, I can go to another caller. There you are. What's up, Draco?
What's good with you, bro? My fault. I'm playing Madden.
You're good.
I'm the 49ers, and I'm winning. But, yeah, I ain't really had too much concern besides the O-line. I really feel like we pretty straight. And if we do trade, we just need to probably get better O-line. That's the only thing we can do. We got a lot of stuff in the draft, and we really hit everything that we needed to get. So I feel like we kind of really set for real.
Yeah, you make some really good points with the offensive line because among all position groups, I probably am the most concerned about the offensive line going into this year. Because outside of Trent Williams, there are question marks all across the offensive line. And throughout OTAs, we've seen a pretty slim level of depth for San Francisco. Trent Williams hasn't been partaking in OTAs. So we've seen players like Aaron Banks be the starting left guard. He's going into year 2 after playing 1 game last year as a rookie. Jalen Moore played very, very minimally last year as a rookie as well. He might be the starting right guard. Daniel Brunskill's coming off knee tendonitis. He filled in for guard last year after there were some injuries there. Mike McGlinchey is coming off the torn quad. He is slated to be your starting right tackle. We're not sure who the center is going to be because the looming retirement or maybe return of Alex Mack. And if Alex Mack doesn't come back, the next replacement on the depth chart is Jake Brendel. And I have no idea what Jake Brendel can bring to the table. Outside of that, Justin School's been filling in at right tackle. Colton McKivitz has been playing along that offensive line as well. It's a major question mark. And outside of quarterback, I'd make the argument offensive line and defensive line, the 2 other most important position groups on a roster year in, year out. I kind of have this philosophy when building a football team. You got to find a quarterback, you got to protect the quarterback, and you got to get after the quarterback, especially in today's pass-happy NFL. And that applies when you're trying to throw the football, when the rules cater offenses, and you got to stop opposing quarterbacks from throwing the football, which is why the defensive line component, which is a strength on this Niners roster, comes into play as well. But I'm with you, offensive line, certainly a little bit of a concern. Next up on the show, we're going to go to David. I'm going to make you the next caller. What's up, David? What do you got for me?
What's up, man? How you doing?
Doing great.
I just saying, you think Trey Lance, when he's on the quarterback, and I know when he faced the Cardinals, you think he ran the ball too much, or he should pass the ball more?
So the game plan was interesting going into that Cardinals game, which was Trey Lance's first start. He didn't have a great grasp of the offense, and I think he was ailing at the time from that finger injury. And because of that, Kyle Shanahan called a lot of designed quarterback powers because Trey Lance just didn't have the grasp of the diversity of the pass run game, and he didn't really have a good feeling for the playbook. And because of that, Trey Lance ran so much. I hated the game plan at the time. You ran him into the ground. He then suffered the knee injury because he was running the football so often in that game. I would hope that going into this year, when Trey Lance is the starting quarterback, because that's my prediction for 2022, that he doesn't run the football as much. One, obviously it leads to quarterbacks suffering from a lot of injuries. That happened with Robert Griffin III when Kyle Shanahan was on that staff in Washington. It's not conducive to long-term success. We saw it with Colin Kaepernick. Once defenses had a grasp of what Kaepernick was trying to do with the read option, he couldn't step up as a passer. Ideally, Trey Lance only runs when he has to, and they only call some of these design quarterback runs when they need to in some short yardage situations. You do not want to run your quarterback into the ground and get him injured. You want to see him grow as a passer in this league because that's how you win in the NFL.